Bill O'Reilly here, Friday, August 7th, 2020. You are listening to the O'Reilly Update. Here's what's happening today in America. New cases of COVID rising in 32 states. More than 1,000 people dying each day in America. Places like New York, Connecticut, New Mexico, and Wyoming are easing restrictions, while Florida, Texas, California, and others are imposing new lockdown measures to slow the spread of COVID. The big question heading into the fall for all Americans is, will the kids go back to school? Here's where we stand. New York City moving ahead with its plan to reopen the country's largest school district. Mayor de Blasio announcing a blended schedule. Some students at home, others in the classroom. The teachers' union unhappy with the arrangement, threatening a so-called sick out in September. Florida insisting the kids will return to school in just a few weeks. The Sunshine State now the epicenter of the contagion. Los Angeles refusing to begin in-person instruction. The superintendent there saying all 600,000 students will use, quote, virtual learning software when the academic year starts on August 18th. Children in Atlanta will also spend the first 2 months online. Houston rescheduling its school start date to September 8th for internet instruction only. The city will not allow kids in the classrooms until October 19th. Chicago, the nation's third largest district, only opening the schools for 2 or 3 days a week. The urchins will be isolated in so-called self-contained pods of just 15 students to limit exposure. But the biggest trend in the USA when it comes to education is homeschooling. New study says 8 in 10 adults believe significant COVID outbreaks will start once the kids get back into the classrooms. 3/4 say the local districts are not doing enough to fight the disease. So 25% of American parents plan on educating their children at home. But remember, Europe brought the kids back to the classrooms and had few problems. 22 countries right now have seen the kids go to school with no COVID spike. Next, listeners, sound off. Right back with it. How bad is your back, knee, or neck pain? Mine was pretty bad. I played 4 sports when I was younger, and it's catching up with me now. I tried a lot of stuff to manage the pain. Ointments, pain relievers, fish oil, nothing worked. So a doctor friend of mine recommended Omega XL, and here's why. The underlying cause of painful, achy joints and muscles is inflammation. The key to knock down inflammation before it causes damage is backed by 35 years of research, and that's what Omega XL does. The doctor also says, quote, I can't write any prescription that comes close to what Omega XL accomplishes. She was right. So if you're suffering with painful, achy joints and muscles, stop wasting money and switch to Omega XL. Order Omega XL now and get a second bottle free. Visit omegaxl.com/bill, omegaxl.com/bill, or you can call 800-844-4888, 800-844-4888. Time now for the O'Reilly Update message of the day. Listeners sound off across the country and in Canada. We do this every Friday. If you would like to write to me, bill@billoreilly.com, bill@billoreilly.com. I started with Jeff in Amherst, Massachusetts. O'Reilly, do you think the statement Black Lives Matter implies that some people think they don't matter? Don't you think the vast majority of people believe all lives matter? And what benefit is gained by separating out and stating Black Lives Matter? Okay, it's a complicated question, but I'm going to break it down. The slogan Black Lives Matter is a good slogan, in my opinion, because it highlights a problem. And the problem is that some law enforcement agents, not many, but some treat African Americans differently than Caucasians. And that has to stop. So the statement highlights that and highlights that we need reform. However, the Black Lives Matter movement, the global foundation, is not selling that concept that reform is needed. They want to overthrow the entire system of this country. So when you get into Black Lives Matter, there's a distinction, and the media certainly is not making it. Gerald, South Lake, Texas. How does one fight back against an organization as wealthy as Black Lives Matter? Well, I don't know whether you really have to fight back against it, Gerald. Why don't we just expose what's really happening, which I'm doing, and let the voters and the people figure it out? Now, you may have heard that yesterday, President Trump said that Black Lives Matter is a Marxist organization. Well, he got that from me. We were the first ones to investigate and expose it. And now people are starting to figure out there's a difference between the organization and the slogan. But I don't think individuals have to fight back. Ronald, Crystal Lake, Illinois. In June, Governor Pritzker here mandated the sending of mail-in ballots throughout Illinois. I will not return a mail-in ballot request. I will vote in person. Bill, can you suggest a way that we can be sure our in-person vote will count? I have no problem with my in-person voting. I am confident it will count. So unless you see, Ronald, some kind of corruption, some kind of evidence in Illinois, in your town, that there's shenanigans, I love that word, going on, you got to assume that the vote in-person system works. Now, the mail-in, that's another story. There's chaos in Florida about it, chaos here in New York State where I am, and Nevada just passed a crazy law. So we're keeping an eye on it. Pat is in Bath, Pennsylvania. Just heard on the radio that if no one is declared the winner of the presidential election in November, Nancy Pelosi will become our new president. The Speaker of the House is third in line. There's no chance that Ms. Pelosi will be appointed president. The Supreme Court will take care of it. I'm Bill O'Reilly, and I approve that message by writing it. For more news analysis, please visit BillO'Reilly.com. Join our Stand Up for Your Country campaign. In a moment, something you might not know. Edward and his wife, Margaret, were looking forward to retirement. Edward started having serious health issues a few years before he turned 65 and had to take an unplanned early retirement. The loss of income and medical bills meant Edward could not afford his expenses, including the premiums on a $1 million life insurance policy. Faced with lapsing their policy for nothing, Edward and Margaret turned to Coventry Direct and were able to sell the policy for $130,000. If you own a life insurance or term policy that you don't need or can't afford, Coventry Direct can help you receive an average of 4 times more cash than you'd get from your life insurance carrier. You can even sell a portion of your existing policy and still maintain coverage with no future premium obligations. See if you qualify. Please call 1-800-888-3791 or visit CoventryHelpsSeniors.com. That's 1-800-888-3791 or visit CoventryHelpsSeniors.com. Now, the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. There are now 18 million cases of COVID in more than 120 countries, 5 million here in the USA. The disease has killed 160,000 Americans in less than 6 months. While the contagion spread across North America, Europe, and beyond, some countries on this planet are left totally unscathed. Here are the places that have avoided the plague. First, the Solomon Islands. The archipelago, located northeast of Australia, is home to 650,000 people. On March 27th, the Prime Minister there declared a state of emergency and suspended all flights into the country. Officials report 0 confirmed cases of COVID. Next stop, Samoa, U.S. territory. 200,000 residents, no virus. The country learned valuable lessons from a deadly measles outbreak in 2019. Once early reports of COVID came out of China, the government immediately banned international travel and public transportation. The case count remains at 0, but public health experts warn just a single COVID infection could spread the virus throughout Samoa in weeks. Heading north to Polynesia, the nation of Tuvalu also reporting 0 victims. Just 11,000 people live on the island. According to the CDC, Americans traveling there have a higher chance of contracting measles, hepatitis, and typhoid than COVID. Other places managing to avoid the pandemic include Tonga and the Marshall Islands, both in the Pacific. Finally, there are 2 countries claiming to be COVID-free. Despite devastating outbreaks in nearby Iran, officials in Turkmenistan say they have yet to see a single case of COVID. But a prominent mayor died there on July 20th. Doctors insist he perished from a, quote, undiagnosed pneumonia. North Korea's Communist Party also in denial. The regime claiming the Hermit Kingdom has managed to escape the pandemic since March, despite sharing a border with China. Back after this. I couldn't believe we were being evicted from our home that we didn't sell. That's what Deborah said when she learned she was the victim of home title fraud, a devastating crime. And title fraud is not covered by insurance or common identity theft services. But you can trust Home Title Lock to protect your home's title. Cyber thieves know that titles to our homes are kept online. They can forge your name, stating you sold your home, and then refile as the new owner. In Deborah's case, she didn't even know she was a victim until the eviction notice arrived. Home Title Lock puts a virtual barrier around your home's title. When they detect tampering, they mobilize to shut it down. Please go to HomeTitleLock.com and register to see if you're already a victim and don't know it. Use code BILL for 30 free days of protection. That's code BILL at HomeTitleLock.com. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.